Listen, we all know how bad Infinite Warfare's launch was, and if you didn't, then you were either too young to witness it, or you were just living under a rock. But Infinite Warfare as a whole isn't the focus of this video. Today we're looking at the more overlooked and underappreciated mode, Zombies, specifically the Easter eggs in each map. Now I know what you're thinking, isn't this game almost like a decade old now? Why are you making a video? Now yes, you're right, this game is getting pretty old. But because of its awful launch, not many people got to experience everything the game had to offer, especially the Zombies mode, which flew under the radar of a lot of people. It's like the saying goes, first impressions are the most important, and this game couldn't have been a better example of this. The game was doomed before it even launched, and even after it launched, it never fully recovered. The Zombies mode as a whole peaked in the initial launch map Zombies in Spaceland, and gradually got worse after every DLC until the last map derailed the entire mode. Even to this day, it's hard to tell why the mode just worsened over time. Possibly because it created an extremely high expectation with the Zombies in Spaceland map. Maybe Lee Ross lost some funding for the mode once the game started to lose a lot of player retention. Or maybe it's just pure laziness from the Zombies creators, who knows. But what I can say with absolute certainty is that I had a blast playing Zombies. To this day, it's my favorite Zombies mode. Yeah, even behind BO3. I'm not saying Infinite Warfare is better, just that it's my favorite to play. I've recorded over 700 hours in this game, so I feel like if anyone could provide valid criticisms, it would be me. The goal of this video is to provide insight on the Easter eggs of this game. I want to show you guys what makes or breaks them. So, this is how the video will be structured. First off, I'll go through and beat every map from easiest to hardest. This is important because you'll be able to see the range of difficulty from the beginning of the video to the end. And trust me, it gets insanely difficult. After every map I beat, I'll give a brief review of it. I'll tell you guys what I think it did good and bad, and I'll even let you know what my favorite and least favorite Easter eggs and bosses are. Then, at the end of the video, will be my overall review of the maps and any more information or thoughts I had about them. So, without keeping you guys waiting any longer, here's me beating all of the maps from easiest to hardest. I hope you enjoy. Alright, starting off pretty easy here. It should be no surprise to anyone who's ever played this game before that Raven the Redwoods is the easiest map that we have in this game. But don't worry, for those who aren't very familiar with this game, you will find out soon why this is the easiest and why it's not even close. So, let's start off with the first step of the Easter egg. The first thing you're going to want to do is turn on the power as you do on every other Zombies map, but you're also going to need to collect a few parts on the way. You're going to need to collect 3 boat parts. One in the cafeteria, one at the rave, and one in the second floor of the house. Once you've collected all 3 boat parts, you can make your way to the dock where you'll find one part of the Pack-a-Punch and this godforsaken boat.
You don't want to be like this. This is disgusting. This is awful in every way. If I could kill it, I would. But I legally can't. But I've considered it.
For those of you who don't know, this boat ride is 50 seconds long. Almost a minute long. That is ridiculous. Now you're probably all wondering, why am I making a big fit about a boat? It's just one boat ride.
Rock.
Wrong.
You have to ride the boat 3 times for the Easter egg. 50 seconds each, 3 times. That is way too much time to be spent just sitting on a boat doing nothing. I don't know who let this fly in the studio.
Yeah, you're getting fired for that.
Oh, and did I mention that Pack-a-Punch is on the island that the boat takes you to? Yeah, so anytime you want to Pack-a-Punch a weapon, you have to take the boat over. So you're potentially taking way more than 3 boat rides over, which is minutes of time wasted. Anyway, enough ranting about the stupid boat. Once you're over on the island, you need to go up and talk to Kevin Smith, and then grab the second Pack-a-Punch part and open up Pack-a-Punch. Talking to Kevin Smith will essentially start the second phase of the Easter egg, where you have to collect 3 parts and do a trial with each part. The first trial being arms shot off of zombies, the second trial being legs shot off of zombies, and the third trial being headshot kills from zombies. Talking to Kevin Smith spawned in the first trial part, where it'll be hidden behind a statue at the rave. After collecting the first trial part, you can take it to its respective spot, put it on the ground, and start shooting arms off of zombies. I believe the number of arms you have to shoot off is around 10, but I'm not completely sure. After shooting off enough arms, you can then interact with the picture on the ground where it will spawn in a slasher that you'll have to kill. And this is honestly the most challenging part of the Easter egg. This guy can tank a lot of hits, and he also has a dash attack that can red screen you if you get hit by it just once, so you gotta be really careful. So after killing the slasher, you can interact with the picture on the ground again, where you can take it to Kevin Smith, talk to him, and then another picture will spawn on the map that you'll have to go grab. And unfortunately, guys, that's basically the entire Easter egg. You do this same step 3 times, take one more boat ride over, and then that's it. That's the Easter egg, and then you're into the boss fight. So once you do the next 2 trials, where you have to find a picture on the second floor of the house and go bring it to the rave to shoot legs off of zombies, and find the skull in the basement to go shoot heads off of zombies by the swamp, you can then talk to Kevin Smith for the last time and go back to the main island where you have to activate a button in the basement to send him through a portal or something. I don't know, it's some weird shit. And now, ladies and gentlemen, you're in the boss fight. All you gotta do is go back to the boat and take a 4th boat ride, which I completely forgot about, and that will activate the boss fight. But don't worry, the boss fight, just like the Easter egg, is incredibly simple and easy, so you should have no problem doing this. The boss fight can be broken up into 4 main steps. The first one is essentially you just filling up 2 soul boxes. Once you fill up those 2 soul boxes, a little summoning circle will spawn somewhere in the boss arena, where you'll have to get the slasher to walk through it and shoot a little bulb on his body. And once you shoot the bulb on the slasher's body, you'll be into the next step, which is honestly my least favorite and probably most boring, where you'll have to shoot symbols on his body, and after you shoot one, you have to wait about 10 seconds for the next one to show up, and you have to shoot like 10, 15, somewhere around there. I don't know, it's incredibly boring, and it's just honestly poor design. But after that terrible step, you'll be on to the last step, where the slasher will throw down fire across the boss arena, and you'll have to hide in these green rings and defend yourself from skeletons. And that step goes on for about 30 seconds, but once you've done that, you just have to repeat all of that 2 more times, and then you're done. What makes this boss fight incredibly annoying and just boring is its repetitiveness, because you have to do all 4 of those steps 3 times, and they take like 5 minutes to do, so you're essentially spending like 10 to 15 minutes in this boss that's incredibly easy. But anyway, that's the entire Easter egg and boss fight. The last step of the boss fight is to, after you shoot the symbols, instead of doing the whole fire step, you just kill the slasher and grab the soul key, and that's the whole boss fight. Now that I'm done showing you guys the Easter egg and boss fight of Rave in the Redwoods, I think it's time that I go over the pros and cons, what I think it did good and bad, and tell you guys what I think it could do better. First, let's go over what my criticisms are for this Easter egg. The one thing I think about when I hear the words Rave in the Redwoods are easy. This Easter egg and boss fight are way too easy. Now, I usually wouldn't criticize a map for being too easy, but this map, all you need is half a brain to complete it. The steps are so simple and easy to remember. I did this for the first time years ago and never forgot it. I've never had to look up any steps for this map. It's that easy. Now, I am also taking into account that, this game has a lot of difficult Easter eggs in it. So it's okay that they have an easy map that you can kind of just sit back, relax on, and not have to worry about pulling out Morse code and some crazy stuff for the other Easter eggs we have on this list. But just looking at this map alone, good God, is it way too easy. And now for my second criticism. Nah, never mind. I've talked about it too much. My last real critique of this map is the fact that you can take the Easter egg and boss fight, and they both boil down to 3 repeated steps and 3 repeated steps. It is way too repetitive. And usually this wouldn't be too bad if the Easter egg was somewhat difficult, but because it's so simple and easy, when you take that and add repetitive in, you're looking at a map that has no point in playing more than once or twice. And I honestly think that's why not a lot of people talk about this Easter egg specifically, because it's so easy and simple that no one ever really wants to play it. Now that I'm done with the critiques of the map, I really only have one good thing to say about it. Though I think the map is too easy for me, I can appreciate that it's probably the most accessible map out there. People who don't usually get into Easter eggs and probably aren't very good at the game can get into this one and actually complete it. This will then probably lead to them saying, hey, if I can beat this, who says I can't beat the other maps in this game? And now that they've completed something on the magnitude of an Easter egg, they're going to want to play the game a lot more and complete more Easter eggs, which leads to a more healthy game in the long run. Now, it's time for me to tell you what I think the map could do better. And it's actually quite simple. All they need to do is add variation. Did you know that all of the required parts for the Easter egg spawn in the same exact spot every time? You already add in the slightest bit of replayability if you just add more spawns for parts. This will make you explore the map more in different playthroughs and eventually lead to you learning more about the map than you did before. That's all it needs. The slightest bit of variation and you got yourself a better map. All in all, Raven the Redwoods is pretty easy and pretty forgettable. So let's move on to the next map where it gets more difficult and more fun. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the best map of all time in my opinion, Zombies in Spaceland. I can't find enough good things to say about this map, but of course we have to save that for a little bit later, and let's start off with the first step of the Easter egg. The first step is of course turning on the power, but this one's a little bit different. You have to turn on 4 power switches instead of 1 in this map. There are 4 sections in this map, each one has their own power switch, so in order to get the entire map powered up, you have to flip all 4. But of course, we can also pick up some parts on the way. The first part we'll find is an umbrella sitting on a bench over here by the slides. We can then head to the Kepler system where we can find a second switch and a second part. It's also important to note that there's a portal in each section of the map that you'll have to use to open up Pack-a-Punch, so we'll go ahead and use that too. The last part we need for the Easter egg will be a calculator located in the arcade. After turning on all 4 power switches, opening up Pack-a-Punch, and collecting the 3 parts, we can hand the parts into David Hasselhoff, and after waiting a couple rounds you can talk with him again to pick up the SETICOM. The SETICOM is the main part you'll be using throughout the entire Easter egg. And now begins the second half of the Easter egg. The entire second half of the Easter egg consists of you essentially just defending the SETICOM, where you'll have to take it to one of several different places on the map to defend it. You have to defend it 3 times in 3 different spots, and the spots are different every playthrough. And even though it may sound pretty repetitive, it's actually not. The time it takes to defend the SETICOM increases every time you defend it. So the step isn't just a pushover, it can be pretty difficult sometimes, especially if you get unlucky with some defense spots. The first time you defend the SETICOM, the time is 60 seconds, the second is 90 seconds, and the third is 120 seconds. I'll talk a bit more about the SETICOM step later, but for now let's move on to the next step. The next step is the last one before the boss fight, and it's by far the easiest. All you gotta do is take the SETICOM, give it to Hasselhoff, and just wait a few rounds. After waiting a few rounds, Hasselhoff will move to a different DJ booth, and once he does, you can interact with him one more time to receive his speaker. The speaker can then be taken to the Pack-a-Punch area of the map, where you can place it on top of the 3 golden tokens and in front of the Pack-a-Punch portal. Once you activate any one of the speakers, it'll start the boss fight, so make sure you're ready. Activating any one of the speakers will summon the UFO from the side of Polar Peak and close off all exits from the Pack-a-Punch area. This creates a huge boss arena for you to run around in, so be sure to use it to your advantage. This boss fight also has a decent amount of steps, so let me walk you through them. The first step of the boss fight is Samantha Says. For this step, the speakers will show 4 different colors that you'll have to memorize. They'll disappear after a few seconds, and once they disappear, the UFO above you will relay the 4 colors in a random order. Once the UFO has finished its random order of colors, you'll have to quickly recite them by using the speakers that you place down. This step is pretty easy if you pay attention, but if you get the order wrong, it'll spawn in a brute you'll have to kill, and once you kill it, you can redo the step. Also, after every time you recite the colors correctly, you'll get a max ammo, so you'll almost never run out of ammo during this step. After reciting the colors 3 different times, you'll be on to the next step of the boss fight, where a shit ton of clowns will spawn in that you'll have to kill. This step lasts about 45 seconds, and actually isn't too hard if you have the Wonder Weapons or Mustang and Sally. After completing that step, you're now on to the official boss of the map, the alien. The alien will spawn out of the Pack-a-Punch portal and almost immediately start teleporting around, so be ready. The way you kill the alien is pretty simple. There's a light on his chest that signifies how much health he has. Green is a lot, yellow is middle of the road, and red is low. Once you damage him enough with one of the alien weapons, his health meter will go to red and he'll drop down to his knee somewhere in the boss arena. At this point in time, you'll want to quickly run up behind him while he's exposed and stab him in the back to get rid of one of the alien fuses. Doing so will spawn in a max ammo and anger him a bit more, causing him to start teleporting around again. There's 2 alien fuses in his back, so you'll have to repeat that same step once more. Once you get rid of his second fuse, it's time to unload all the ammo you have to officially kill him. Once you kill him, you'd think the boss fight would be over, but not just yet. There's one more thing you have to do. Upon killing the alien, he'll drop alien fuses outside of the Pack-a-Punch portal, where you'll then have to install them in the Pack-a-Punch machine and upgrade your alien weapon. After doing so, you'll need to take the alien weapon and shoot all of the blue lights on the archway at the spawn area. A laser will then be activated above Pack-a-Punch when all blue lights are shot. You have to time it perfectly so that when you shoot the last blue light, the UFO is sitting right above Pack-a-Punch, so it will be destroyed by the laser. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the Easter egg and boss fight completed. All there is to do now is grabbing the soul key to get your cutscene and your achievement. Now you've probably noticed by now that this Easter egg segment was a lot quicker than Raven the Redwoods, but that's for good reason. First off, I didn't have to rant about a boat for 2 minutes, and second, I have a lot more better things to say about this Easter egg and boss fight. So, let's get to what made this boss fight and Easter egg good and bad. The first thing I feel like I have to mention about this map is its simple but effective formula. The entire Easter egg can really be summed up as 3 defense challenges and then the boss fight, but when you're completing the Easter egg in real time, it really doesn't feel that way. I think the reason it doesn't feel that way is because you can't just get the entire Easter egg knocked out in one round like you can on Raven the Redwoods. There's multiple steps where you have to wait a couple rounds to do the next step, and even between each Steadicam you have to wait around. I think this is important to the map because it makes you get sidetracked a little bit and it makes you interact with the map a little bit more. It also gives you a bit of time to sit back, relax, and just play the game normally for a little bit. Another thing I think this Easter egg did well in comparison to Raven the Redwoods is offer a healthy challenge. This Easter egg, though simple, is not easy in the slightest. I've probably done this Easter egg about 20 times and I still struggle the same amount as I did when I first completed it. For me, that makes this map the most replayable out of all of the other maps we're going to talk about. Next up on things this Easter egg did right is being accessible to good and bad players. This Easter egg is what I believe to be the perfect difficulty. Really good players can hop into this map and still face a bit of challenge, but not enough challenge to drive casual players away. With enough practice, anyone can beat this map, and if not, then you can work together with another person to beat it. But the game just won't let you be carried by someone good. The boss fight scales in difficulty and will add in another alien for every extra player. And that is what creates the perfect solution to maps being too easy on co-op. And that's about all the major feedback I have about this Easter egg. Maybe it's because I'm a bit biased, but I really don't have anything bad to say about this map. I actually couldn't recommend this map enough to anybody looking for the perfect formula to an Easter egg, because this is the map you're looking for. Overall, I think this map does almost everything perfect. But, next up on this list is a map that I'm very mixed on, so let's get to it. Alright guys, let's be honest, we all knew I had to get to this map at some point. But don't skip this segment just yet, I promise there's a little bit of good in this Easter egg. I know, you know, we all know how tedious this Easter egg is, so I'm going to do something a little bit different for this map. The first thing I'm going to do is go over where every single part is, and then once I get through all of the parts, I'm going to go over the steps of the Easter egg. Simply put, there's just too many parts. I'd be stopping every 5 seconds to show you a new part that I found, so I think this will make it easier for everybody. Just try to follow along. I'm going to do this part as quick as I can so I can get to the actual Easter egg, which is what y'all are here for. First off, we gotta collect 3 parts to make one machine. There's a part right here, here, and here, and you have to put them right here to create this. And we can also grab this little punch card. Now I'm gonna show you where to get all of the zombies parts. The first part is in the sand, where we'll have to use the machine we made a minute ago to dig it out of the ground. The second part is in the freezer, where we have to use a crowbar to get to it. The third part is in the trailer park in a fire. The fourth part is hidden in a tree by the station. The fifth part is found inside a trailer. And the last part is found by killing a radioactive zombie with a cleaver. Now the bomb parts. You could find one under this car, one under this bridge, and one by this gate. Now the mixing station parts. There's one on this couch right here, one on this table by the beach, and one on this bench in the trailer park. You could find Elvira's book in this safe once you talk to her. You could find the power switch on the same hand we found on the beach earlier. And for the bomb code, you have to hit these 4 pipes around the map that coordinate to these numbers under this desk to open up this safe. And the last bits of parts we need are the mirror parts. We can easily get 2 from hitting them with a crowbar, one on this car and one in this bathroom. And we can get the third and final one by waiting for Elvira to get up from her couch so we can pick it up. Whew, alright, I think we're done now. I think we're done with all the parts. That was fun, right? But anyway, since we've already collected all the parts, we got about half the Easter egg done right there, so it should be pretty easy to get through the rest of the Easter egg and into the boss fight. So let's start off with the first step. I'll let you guess where this is going. Yep, that's right. Not much of a guess. We're turning on the power. All you gotta do is slap that handle that we found earlier right onto the power box and power's turned on. Now, would you fully believe me if I were to tell you that this entire Easter egg is only 3 steps long, other than collecting parts, of course? Well, you should, because I'd really have no other point in mentioning it in the video if it were false. So, I'll throw out all 3 steps and then go over each one. First step up on the list, we got to find a key. Simple enough. Second up on the list, we have to find our compound. Not as simple. And third up on the list, we have to put the compound into the bomb. So let's start with the first and definitely most simple. We have to find a key. This isn't just any key though. No. This is a special one. This is a zombie key. And this key right here, you can only find in the anus of a zombie, believe it or not.
What?
Oh, and also the only way to extract this key from the anus of said zombie is with a laser beam. Simple enough, right? So since we have all of the zombie and mirror parts, we can take them all down to the spawn room. We can put the zombie up, full body on the stretcher, and we could set up 3 mirrors around the room. Once both the zombie and mirrors are set up, we can go over, put the punch card in the machine, and try to find the code. It's less of finding and more of guessing. You have to guess a 5-digit code, and I believe the numbers can only be 3, 4, 5, 6, and 8. This step has an unlimited amount of tries, so you actually can't fail it. And once you inevitably guess the code right, all you gotta do is activate the laser and it'll fuse the zombie together. Now, all you gotta do is take that code you found the first time and just flip it around. All you gotta do is reverse it, input it that way, and shoot the laser again. And that right there is how you extract a key from a zombie's anus. And that step wasn't too bad, right? Well, brace yourself, because these next few steps is the equivalent of wading through shit water, so get ready. The next step after finding your anal key is to find out what chemical compound you have to use to make the bomb. The first step is to obtain a battery. A battery can be dropped from any zombie who's wearing a backpack and shouldn't be too difficult to find. Using this battery, you need to repair one of 2 different tapes. Either one can be right and there's no way of telling, so just pick one. The worst that can happen is you just have to wait for another battery to come along. When listening to these tapes, you're going to have to listen for a specific compound. The guy talking in the tapes is just going to give out a bunch of mumbo jumbo about multiple different chemicals, but you're going to have to listen for him to say something specific like, if I were you, I would use this compound. And you're going to have to use that information and apply it to making a certain compound for the bomb. For this playthrough, I got the chemical compound 3-methyl-2,4-dinitrobenzene, and it's different every time, so this is going to be the chemical compound that we're going to be making this playthrough. And now we're on to the last step of the Easter egg, where we have to actually create the chemical compound. And I'm not saying this is the most difficult step I've ever done, but it's up there. I just like to throw out there, I've never had to do any math for any Easter egg step except for this one. That being said, just try to follow along best you can. If you've done this Easter egg before, I'm sure you can follow along perfectly fine. But for those who haven't done it, I'm sorry. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try to make you understand. The first step of this last step is to find your film color. In order to do this, you're gonna have to do a little bit of math like the rest of the steps, but this one's a lot more simple than the rest. Around the map are these 4 circle numbers, and you're going to have to eventually multiply one of them with the M number in the motel office to get the product. The product is what tells you what color you're going to have to use for the rest of the game. You'll know what color you're going to have to use because if you go to Elvira's station, there'll be a TV that has colors and numbers in correlation to each other. And whereas you'd usually go around and eliminate the circle numbers one by changing the color, and changing the color every time eliminates one circle number, and eventually tells you what circle number you're going to have to use for this step. I actually have a simpler and easier way of doing this step. If you look at your TV screen, you'll notice that the product of the circle and M number can only be one of 3 numbers. For me, the numbers are either 268, 270, or 272. And we can also take note that my M number is 18. I also took note that earlier one of the circle numbers was 15. Now without having to go through and eliminate one number at a time by changing the colors and going through, we can easily say that 18 times 15 is 270. And like I said earlier, it has to be one of the 3 numbers, 268, 270, or 272. And in order for it to be either 268 or 272, it would have to be a decimal. So that's how we know that 15 is for sure the number that we need. And the product is 270, which means blue is our film color. Now that we got our film color, we can start the next step in this process where we actually start putting together the chemical compound that goes into the bomb. The next thing you're going to want to do is get out your phone, because this is damn near impossible to do without any external help. I actually hate having to go to the internet every single time I have to do this Easter egg, so I actually wrote everything down in this notebook I have over here on the ground, so I'm actually going to be using that for reference. Again, I'm going to try to explain this the best I can. Maybe it's just me, maybe it's actually not that difficult, but I struggled a lot with this step before I wrote everything down, and even then I still struggle with this step. So you got your chemical compound, right? Well, unfortunately, you can't just find it on a random shelf at Walmart. You have to actually make this thing from scratch. Again, for the sake of simplicity, we're going to be using the chemical compound I got for this playthrough, 3-methyl-2,4-dinitrobenzene. When you break this chemical compound down, it comes down to dinitro and methylbenzene. And then dinitro breaks down to methylbenzene, baking soda, vinegar, and detergent. And methylbenzene breaks down into drain cleaner, paint, and detergent. So first we gotta start off with methylbenzene, which is drain cleaner, paint, and detergent all put together. And going forward, any one of these parts can be scattered anywhere on the map, so I recommend looking up a guide or just writing it down. Once we find the 3 parts from the chemical compound to be made, we need to go up and find the blackboards that correlate to each one of these parts so we can do a little bit of math. And this is where the color film comes in. You need to be in the right color, because if you go up to these blackboards that have 4 numbers for each chemical, it'll be different in every color and you won't get the math right if you're in the wrong color. So since we're already in the color we need to be, let's take a look at the blackboard and let's see how we do this math. So you see these 4 numbers right here? You need to find your chemical and add the top and the left number together. You need to do this for every chemical you use during the step. Once I added the top and left numbers together for drain cleaner, paint, and detergent, I then need to take the total from the top and left of each of those and add all of those together. And then after that, the last thing we need to do is take the circle number that we had earlier that we multiplied by M, and we need to subtract it from the total of all of the chemicals. So I took the total of all of the chemicals, subtracted it by 15, put it into the mixing machine, and created the first chemical compound, methylbenzene. And that's about 1/3 of the chemical step. You're going to have to end up doing that about 3 or 4 times. It depends on what chemical compound you get in each playthrough. But don't worry, I'm not gonna bore you with the rest of it. I just needed to show you guys how it worked so I can use that later with my criticisms. Also, for anyone watching who hasn't played the game before, I think it's only fair that I show them how each of the Easter eggs work, even if it's as boring as doing chemistry. But don't worry folks, we're now on to the most fun part of this Easter egg, the boss fight. Though I think it's a bit weak compared to all of the other bosses in this game, I still think it's a lot of fun, so let me walk you guys through it. So after putting the chemical compound into the bomb and interacting with the bomb, it'll send you to the boss fight, where the first thing you'll have to do is escort the nuke all the way to the shoreline. This step isn't too bad, just stay close to the bomb and it'll keep moving. The Krog will throw fireballs at you, but it's pretty easy to defend. You can shoot them out of the sky, so all in all this step is pretty easy. And this next step here can either be the quickest or the longest of the boss fight. I know the first time I ever completed this Easter egg, it took me about 20 minutes to do this step, but now I can do it in about 30 seconds. After escorting the bomb to the shoreline and sending it into the Krog's mouth, he'll be in this sort of aggro phase. He's going to start attacking you and hitting the beach to try to kill you, but whenever he does that, his chest will be exposed. And whenever his chest is exposed, you're going to want to take the laser and shoot his chest. You're going to need to shoot his chest 3 times with the laser rifle, and if you're good, you can get it done in about 20 to 30 seconds. And luckily for me in this run, I got it done in about 30 seconds, so I was right on to the next step. After hitting the Krog in the chest 3 times with the laser rifle, you'll want to go up and activate the bomb on the shoreline to start the next step. After doing this, you'll be blocked off from any part of the arena that's not the middle part. And while being blocked off from any part of the arena that's not the middle part, you're also going to have to simultaneously worry about the Krog throwing out acid on the beach. The Krog is going to use this acid to push you all the way to the back of the middle part of the arena. And a few seconds after this comes my favorite step in any boss fight ever. The Krog is going to create a laser maze where you'll have to jump and duck through a bunch of lasers without dying. The lasers do a lot of damage, and usually this is pretty easy on solo, but co-op is awful, especially if you're lagging in a public lobby. But once you make it to the end of the laser maze, you're on to the last step of the boss fight. You'll have to interact with the bomb one more time, where this time you'll be sent into the Krog. Once you're in here, well, I hope you memorize your code from earlier, because you can't check it now. You're on about a 30-second timer where you'll have to input the code you got earlier from the safe into the bomb. And once you successfully input the code only once, you are completely done with Attack of the Radioactive Things Easter egg and boss fight. As you can imagine, for a long Easter egg like this, I do have a lot of things to say, some good, most bad, but I do have good things to say, so let's go ahead and get the good things out of the way first. At the very least, I will give this map a lot of props for trying to be different and trying to be unique. I mean, it really is unique. There's really no other zombies experience like this one. Now, I understand and acknowledge that just because this map is different and unique, it shouldn't get bonus points. You know, I do acknowledge that. Like, this map isn't very good, but I still got to give it props for trying to be different, you know? And you know, it's also a lot better than what you could say for other maps. So, you know, that's also the very least. If you're going to hate everything else about this map, at the very least you have to say it's different. But let's just take a step away from the identity of this map and actually look at what it did good inside the map. And I really only have one good thing to say, and it's the boss fight. While the boss fight is very easy and anticlimactic, if I'm being honest, I still have a lot of fun doing it. It's the same thing I said about the map. The boss fight is unique and there's nothing else like it. And it also has one of my favorite steps ever in any boss fight. So, you know, I gotta give it credit for that. But now let's talk about what this Easter egg did bad. And spoiler alert, it's a lot. But let's start off with the most obvious. I'm sure even if you haven't played this, you probably noticed immediately. This Easter egg is incredibly tedious, but for no reason. It's just tedious just to be tedious. There is so much backtracking and running you have to do in this map and collecting parts. I wouldn't be surprised if almost 70% of the Easter egg was just you running and not even doing like any activity, just you running around, especially backtracking. I've had to backtrack in this map so many times, especially picking between the cleaver and crowbar and having to pick up different parts. I've backtracked so many times in this map. And yes, I understand that there's a fast travel system in this map, but that still doesn't change the fact that you have to run around to collect a million different parts. And of course, if you mention tedious with this map, you gotta mention the math and chemistry steps. Actually, I changed my mind. I don't even want to talk about it. You saw it, and I'll mention it because I know it's tedious, but I'm not even gonna talk about it. You know how I feel. You guys probably feel the same way, so let's just keep it at that. The last major bad thing I have to say about the map ties into both of the last things I said, but this Easter egg takes way too goddamn long. I think the playthrough that you're watching took about an hour, a little bit over an hour to complete, and this may be a hot take, but that is just way too long. I should not have to take an hour or over an hour of my day, and this is for someone who's completed this Easter egg multiple times. I still have to take an hour out of my day to do this Easter egg. That's just ridiculous. I don't think it should be like that, especially since a lot of the things you do in here you have to look up. About half the Easter egg you have to look up. The chemistry steps, sometimes the math step. I've forgotten the math step, but you know, that's on me. But the chemistry you have to look up every time. There's no way of doing it off of memory. As for things this map could do better, I really can't say specifically what it could do because the entire Easter egg is just awful. Like, it's just not good. And in order to make it better, you'd have to completely redo the entire thing. Like, the entire Easter egg, except for the boss fight, is just terrible design. So I can't really give you guys what I think it could do better. I know that if it was redone, it needs to be way shorter. There should be... I like the concept of the chemistry step and making chemicals, putting it all together, making a bomb. I like that, but the math needs to go. For a casual player, this Easter egg is damn near impossible. And it basically is impossible without looking anything up. So, again, you'd have to probably redo the entire thing for me to give better criticism, but all in all, it just needs to be shorter because it takes way too long to do, and it needs to be less complicated. Now, with all that being said, let's now move on to probably the most hated map in Infinite Warfare. Oh yeah, baby, here we go. The most hated map in Infinite Warfare, Beast from Beyond. Oddly enough though, this is one of my favorite maps. Yeah, believe it or not. And actually, I'll take it even a step further. This is actually my second favorite map, right behind Zombies in Spaceland. But I'll get to that later. For now, we're going to worry about the first step of this Easter egg. And the first step of the Easter egg is... Well, hold on now. This isn't turning on the power? We have to grab Neil's head and put it in its place to... Oh, never mind. It's turning on the power. Alright. Well, at the very least, they rebranded it. So, you know, I'll give them a pass on that. Alright, well, I guess we're on to the next step of the Easter egg, where we have to find a skull in some kind of electrical box. Whenever you find the electrical box, you have to hit it with an explosive, grenade launcher, whatever. You have to hit it with an explosive, and a skull will pop out. And all you gotta do is shoot that skull. Once you shoot that skull, you can come over here to this big open area and stand on this little X on the ground. Standing on the X will start a time trial where you'll have to stand in this green circle around your feet for about a minute. I don't know if it's a minute exactly, but you just have to wait for that skull in the center of the little arena to reach the top. And once it reaches the top, it'll send the skull somewhere around the arena where you'll have to go jump into it. Whenever you jump into it to collect it, the trial will officially be over, and it'll reward you with an entangler in the middle of the arena. We're not going to use the entangler just yet though, we're going to wait a little bit. So for now, let's start collecting the 3 pack-a-punch parts. One pack-a-punch part is going to be by blue bolts right here. The next part is going to be in this arena where we found the entangler. And the next one is going to be on this car outside of the theater. Once you collect all 3 of these parts, you can take them outside to construct the bridge that leads to Pack-a-Punch. And while we're over here, we're going to grab this little floppy disk on the ground. This disk is one of 4 disks we have to find. We can only pick up one at a time, but later we're going to need to input them right next to Neil's head. And that's actually what we're going to do right now. We're going around to take note of each of the symbols so we know what sequence we have to put them in later. And the first symbol we have right here is a V. The next floppy disk we can find is over here sitting on a desk where it looks like an eagle. To get the next floppy disk, we're going to have to use the entangler. We're going to have to go over here by the little ventilation area and shoot the entangler to grab the floppy disk and shoot it through a vent. Shooting it through that vent will output it somewhere in a different vent where we happen to find it right here. And it looks like 2 triangles. And the last floppy disk comes from a phantom that's actually been chasing us since we opened up Pack-a-Punch and went in. And that floppy disk kind of looks like a bunch of arrows pointing inward. So now that you found all the floppy disks and taken note of what each one's symbol is, we can either look up what the sequence is for the floppy disks, or we can look around the map for these papers, or sometimes they're even written on the walls, what the sequence is. So after finding the sequence, we put it in the right order, and this makes Neil mad. And now he's going to be setting off a bunch of traps and shutting a bunch of doors trying to kill you. So naturally, what do? We hack him.
I'm gonna have to go into hardcore hacking mode.
But before we can hack him, we have to do this really odd step. We need to go to the theater, where we'll find a button on the wall that we'll have to grab with the entangler. And once we grab it with the entangler, we have to go to the arcade and send it through a picture. Like I said, makes no sense, but whatever, we have to do it anyway. What we just did was basically send the button through a portal that was in the picture, where it's underneath a desk now where we found the other floppy disk, and we'll have to click it. And that'll open up a little puzzle in the other room where now we can hack Neil. And this step used to confuse the hell out of me, but it's actually incredibly simple. All you gotta do is look at it how it is now and flip all of the vertical bars. The bars will obviously change as you turn more, so you're gonna have to remember where they were originally at. And that's it. Sometimes it won't work on the first time, so you have to do it again, but I've never had to do it more than twice, so either once or twice and you're done with that step. And believe it or not, we are now on to the final step of the Easter egg before the boss fight. And it's not just because I'm cutting down the video, it's genuinely like this short. Like this one YouTuber I watch, Zilla, he does a lot of speedruns on this map, and he can get into the boss fight in less than 5 minutes. It's crazy. You should definitely go check him out and watch him. He's incredible at the game. But anyways, now we're on to the last step. The last step is simply just taking Neil's head and bringing it to the Pack-a-Punch room. You gotta use the entangler to carry his head, and you know, usually this step isn't too hard, but sometimes you can get stuck on the door that leads to the outside, and you have to drop the head, ending the round. You'll have to go back and do it the next round, but other than that, this step is pretty easy, and you shouldn't have too much trouble doing it. But once you get Neil's head in the little computer in the Pack-a-Punch room, you're ready to go. All you gotta do is interact with his head, and you're into the boss fight. Now this boss fight right here has absolutely no zombies in it. There's no zombies at all. It's all extinction aliens. And this boss fight is known to be one of the most difficult boss fights in this game. And pretty glitchy, if I'm being honest. The way the aliens jump around sometimes, they can like knock you back. And they're just very glitchy. So all in all, that makes it a very difficult boss fight. But once you're actually in the boss fight arena, you're going to start off killing 4 rhinos. There's a laser above you that will shoot open containers containing rhinos in it. And this step is also pretty easy, especially if you have like the VPR or the FHR or the Sentinel. All 3 of those are great weapons to have for this boss fight, so you really shouldn't have any trouble doing this. After killing the 4 rhinos, the portals on one side of the arena will open up, allowing a bunch of aliens to come through. Again, this step, pretty easy. You have to basically survive for a minute. I mean, there's probably like 50 aliens that spawn out of it, but there's only like 4 or 5 at a time. So this step isn't difficult either. It just kind of takes a little bit of time. And then once you're done defending that side of the arena, the other side will open up. But unlike the first one, this one will spawn in phantoms. But overall, there's a lesser amount of aliens that spawn through. So, I mean, it kind of zeroes out. But now we're getting on to the more difficult steps of this boss fight. After doing both sides of the arena, the entire arena is opened up. And now you're basically just going to have to run around for about a minute. I'll give you about a minute. And after you're running around for a minute, these 3 consoles around the arena will turn on. And you're going to have to turn them off in a short amount of time. Once you turn off all 3 consoles, all portals around the entire arena will close, and you'll have to kill off the remaining aliens. You'll notice that the laser above you is going to be shooting off in a bunch of different directions, so just hide in a shipping container to save yourself and you'll be fine. Now once the cannon / laser, whatever you want to call it, stops going all crazy, it's going to shoot one last laser beam at this container right in the middle of the arena. And when it does that, it's going to reveal a 90-second timer. Except it's lying to you. It is not 90 seconds, it's about 180 seconds. It's about double the amount of time you thought it was. And now you're on to the step that I feel like most people struggle with, and I've personally died the most with it. You're just going to have to wait for the timer to run out. That's all you have to do. But when you run around the arena, there's going to be a rhino chasing you the whole time, and there's going to be a bunch of other aliens chasing you. And while you're running around, they can spawn in front of you, knocking you back, like I said earlier. So this entire step is very glitchy and very difficult. So you're probably going to struggle with this step. The way I can combat that, I guess, or like a tip I can give you, is using the evade card to kind of boost yourself forward every now and then. But other than that, I mean, you're just gonna have to struggle through this step. But once you run out the timer completely, you can go up and interact with it, and it'll kill all of the aliens in the arena. But it's not over just yet. You got one more really difficult step coming up. The laser is gonna shoot one more shipping container open, and that will reveal 2 big-ass rhinos. These 2 rhinos are the spongiest enemies I've ever gone against in any game ever. It is ridiculous. You're gonna spend about 5 to 10 minutes killing both of them. They are that bullet spongy. I don't think this part of the boss fight is unfair, but it is incredibly difficult. And as if the blue rhinos weren't already overpowered, when you deal enough damage, they'll drop blue fire right where they're at. And when you walk in it, it's basically the equivalent of 2 zombies hitting you. So if you stand in it long enough, it'll 3-tap you. It'll kill you in about 2 seconds. This wouldn't be too big of a problem, but there's only about 2 routes you can take training around the blue rhinos. So eventually, when you deal enough damage, both of your routes will be taken up, and you'll basically just have to be dodging the rhinos. And other aliens can spawn in during this, by the way. It'll open the portals for like 30 seconds and other aliens can come in. But not only will you be dodging the blue rhinos and other aliens, you'll have to be walking on like the edge of the fire, because if you walk right through the middle, you'll get damaged. But if you walk to the edge, it won't damage you. And you're going to have to be doing that for about 5 minutes. I will say though, with enough practice, you can actually get this boss battle down really good. It just takes a pretty long time to perfect. But anyways, once you do enough damage to both rhinos, they'll both go down, they'll both be dead, and the Easter egg and boss battle for Beast from Beyond is now over. This Easter egg was actually pretty quick. The boss fight was actually almost as long as the Easter egg, but you guys didn't see it. But I took about 10 to 15 minutes literally just spinning the wheel to try to get the ideal guns for this boss fight, so you didn't see that part. But yeah, the boss fight is definitely longer than the Easter egg. So now we're on to the official review of this map. What did I think of it? Well, here's what I'm going to say. I said earlier that this is my second favorite map. I do enjoy this map. I won't be biased though, I promise. But I definitely think this map did fly under the radar and was pretty underappreciated. But I will acknowledge that there's flaws, and I'll get to them. Don't worry about it. But first I'm going to go over the pros. The first major pro I have about this map, especially coming after Attack of the Radioactive thing, this Easter egg is so much more simple, and it's honestly fun to do. Like, I don't really hate any of the steps in this Easter egg. I think it's actually quite fun. While I get that some people might say it's too short or too easy, I don't think it's too easy, because the Easter egg is easy, yeah, but it makes up for it by having a pretty difficult boss fight. So, you know, it's a trade-off. If you're going to have an easy Easter egg, you better have a really difficult, or it's at least semi-difficult boss fight. Another pro I have for this map is its easy to understand steps. Once you know the steps of the Easter egg and boss fight, you're never going to need to learn them again, because they're just easy to remember, they're very simple, they're not complex. It's like the puzzle in this map, you're just flipping vertical bars, that's it. It's very simple, very easy to understand, and I think the steps for this Easter egg were very well thought out and very good. I think they're very good for the Easter egg. Those two are the major pros I have for the map. Like I said, I'm not going to be biased. I know there's cons, I know there's flaws to this map, so let me get to them. By the way, both of these cons are going to be for the boss fight. I only have 2 major cons with this map, and they're both with the boss fight. I think the Easter egg was almost perfect. I gotta say, I really like the Easter egg, so we're just going to look at the 2 cons of the boss fight. I don't really think the boss fight is too difficult. I think that's the whole point in boss fights being boss fights, so I don't think it was too difficult. I think the boss fight was too long. Like I said, if you watch Zilla's speedrun attempt on this map, he got into the boss fight with less than 5 minutes on the timer, and he left the game with 14 minutes. So he was in the boss fight for 2/3 of the entire run. That's how long the boss fight is compared to the Easter egg. I don't necessarily think it's bad overall. I just think to me it's just kind of annoying. Like I'd rather be in the actual map longer than the boss fight, you know. And even though I enjoyed the boss fight, I still wouldn't want to be in there for 10 minutes. But what I do think is bad is the glitchiness of the boss fight, specifically the aliens. I don't know how many times I've been doing this boss fight and I've gotten either knocked back or stuck on an alien and it completely ended my run. It is so annoying and it is cancerous to this map. I mean, aliens are on every single round and they literally make up the entire boss fight. So you can't have an entire boss fight of an alien and it's glitchy. You can't do that. They have to fix that. They're not going to because the game's almost a decade old, but they should have fixed that. It doesn't really make sense to me why they had this map dedicated specifically towards this one enemy type, and they didn't fully work it through. They didn't fully work through its physics and how it moved around the map, because it's glitchy. It's not just me. Like, everyone experiences this. It's part of the map. So it really doesn't make sense to me why they let that through or why they let that happen. I don't know. I mean, it's water under the bridge, you know. It's over now. I mean, they can't change it. But you know, I think I have no doubt in my mind that the map, specifically the boss fight, would have been way better if they would have just fixed the aliens. And as far as what they could do better on the map and what they're missing, I mean, that was it. That's really what you're missing to make this map so much better than it is. That's all it needs. Just like Raven the Redwoods, all it really needed was variation. All this map needs is the enemy type alien to be fixed. That's all it needs, because it's knocked out. I mean, just like if you look back to when Spaceland first launched and a bunch of people were doing the alien boss fight, the alien was the same way. Now the alien teleports, so that's a little bit different, but the alien was the same way. Whenever it get in your face, it would knock you back and like sometimes pull you in, and it was too glitchy, and it made some people hate the boss fight. So I think that's what we got going on here. I think we have an enemy type that's broken, that never got fixed, and that's why the boss fight and the map is just not liked by people. But yeah, that's my 2 cents on the map. I personally love it, but you know, it has flaws. Like I said, I'm not completely biased. But yeah, love it or hate it. I mean, I think it's a good map, honestly. I think it's definitely overhated, but you know, I get where people are coming from when they say they hate this map. And now we're on to the last map of the game. This map I think it's a little bit overhated, but it's kind of a disaster. This Easter egg and boss fight are kind of disasters. So, just like me, I think you guys should try to keep an open mind with this map. Alright, set aside all other feelings, and let's look at this as if this was the first time we'd ever seen it. And let's see if this next map deserved all the hate it got, or if it was unjustified. Alrighty guys, here she is, the last map on this list and the hardest map in this game, Shaolin Shuffle. Do I like this map?
No.
But that doesn't mean I'm not going to be fair with my criticisms. Like I said, we're coming into this map with an open mind, as if we've never seen this before, so let's get started. First off, there's 4 power switches. I'm not going to show you where all of them are, because I really don't feel like I need to. I just wanted to show you how creative this map is. The first real step of this Easter egg, though, is getting to round 5. When you get to round 5 and talk to Pam Grier, you'll unlock the Kung Fu abilities. You can pick any one of the 4. I usually pick either the Tiger or Dragon, but it really doesn't matter. You're only going to be using it for like a couple rounds. The first thing you're going to want to do when you get it is level it up to level 2, where you unlock the Shuriken. And once you unlock level 2, you're going to have to go talk to Pam Grier again. Talking to her again will spawn in a bunch of rat cages around the map with a bunch of rats in them, and you can go up and hit any one of them with the shuriken, but I always choose the one at the top of these stairs right here just because it's the closest. And this is probably the most pointless step I've ever done. You're going to have to throw a shuriken at one of the rat cages and follow the 2-pixel rat around the entire map till it gets into another cage. Then once it gets into that cage, you hit that cage with the shuriken till it goes to the next one, and so on. You have to hit about 4 or 5 rat, I think it's 5 rat cages. Yeah, incredibly annoying. I don't see any point in adding this step. I think the map is only better if you take it out. But hey, who the hell am I, right? Once you hit all the rat cages required, a gold circle will spawn right where you're at, and you'll have to kill around 12 zombies in it. No, this Easter egg doesn't contain a bunch of useless steps. Why would you ever think that? Anyway, once you kill enough zombies in the gold circle, a key will spawn, and you'll have to go use that on this locker in the other part of the subway. Once you've opened that locker, you need to go around the map and shoot 4 Asian symbols. This one right here, this one right here, and then these 2 right here. Why do you have to shoot them in that order? I got no clue, that's just how it works. But once you shoot all 4 of those symbols, you'll hear a bell and you'll be on to the first mini boss fight. Just go back to the dojo with Pam Grier, interact with this Rat King symbol on the ground, and you'll spawn in the Rat King that you'll have to kill. You're going to have to kill the Rat King 3 times throughout the Easter egg, and it's not too difficult. He has a decent amount of health. I would just recommend having a Pack-a-Punch weapon whenever you go against him. Once you kill him, he'll drop his eyeball, and you'll have completed the first major step of the Easter egg. Make sure you talk to Pam Grier after you get the eye, because if you don't, the next steps of the Easter egg are impossible to do. And now you're on to one of the more annoying steps of this Easter egg. You're going to have to use that eye you just got to reveal secret locations of symbols around the map. Problem is that symbol can only be in one spot at a time, and all of the locations for the symbol are spread across the big ass map, so quite annoying. You're going to have to find the symbol a total of like 7 or 8 times, and on average this step probably takes me about 10 minutes to do. And it's just you running around shooting symbols. There's nothing to it. It's quite dumb and quite annoying. But ladies and gentlemen, if you thought that step was annoying, let me point you to the next few steps. I hope you guys studied your Morse code and ancient language classes over the weekend, because now we're putting them to good use. Turns out shooting all those symbols in the last step revealed a phone that is now giving you Morse code. You're going to need to listen to the Morse code message. It's going to give you 3 numbers in Morse code, and those numbers are going to correlate to posters around the map that also have numbers on them. The Morse code numbers I got from the phone translates to 596, so I'm going to go up here and grab this poster that also has the number 596. You need to bring the poster up to the roof, put it on the spotlight, and then shoot the window that it lit up with an explosive. And I hope you guys brought your phones, because here we go, you're going to need it right now. The next step of this Easter egg, you're going to have to spell out a random word with a completely made up alphabet. Why? Well, why the hell not? You're going to need to look up what the alphabet translates to in our alphabet, and you're also going to need to look up a list of words that you could possibly be spelling out. I think the list of words that you could possibly spell out is around 100, maybe 150. So it's a lot of words, so you're definitely going to need to look it up. You can't just guess this shit. And real quick, let's just take a moment of silence to honor the guy who had to do this step without any help and only through trial and error. So let's just, everybody be quiet real quick. Let's just take a moment of silence. Your sacrifice is greatly appreciated. Anyway, 2 hours after you finally figure this step out, you're on to the second mini boss fight of the Easter egg. I don't think the Rat King's health increases throughout the Easter egg, so this will be the same as the first one, except this time he's going to drop a brain. And just like last time, you're going to have to go talk to Pam Grier to unlock the next few steps of the Easter egg. And all this next step is just waiting out 3 rounds. That's all you do. But once you waited out all 3 rounds, the game's going to hit you with a little jump scare. Then it's going to throw you into this little arena where you're going to have to kill like 6 zombies. Once you kill all the zombies, a piece of a turnstile will spawn somewhere in the arena. You're going to have to grab it and take it down to the subway to repair one of the turnstile gates. After you've done that, you can head up this ladder over here into the edge of the platform where you can shoot another rat symbol through this window. The window will close and a gold circle will spawn right below you. You're going to have to do the same thing you did earlier with the other gold circle. You're going to have to kill around 8 to 10 zombies in this one, but after you do this one, another one's going to spawn around the map. You got to complete about 10 gold circles. Once you've completed that boring step, you're now on to the official last step of the Easter egg before the boss fight. But don't worry guys, this one is just as annoying as the last. You're going to have to go to the disco and interact with the DJ booth on the second floor, and that'll spawn in a zombie on the dance floor with a disco ball above its head. Basically how this step works is you have to kill a zombie with a headshot that has the disco ball above its head, and another zombie has to be on the dance floor at the same time so the disco ball transfers to that zombie. In addition to that, you also have to be standing on the dance floor at the same time as all of that happening. So as you can probably figure out, this step can be quite annoying and quite difficult to achieve, especially if it's in the middle of a round and there's a shit ton of zombies chasing after you. It's pretty difficult. But once you do that step with about 10 to 12 zombies, you're on to the final mini boss of the Easter egg. Like I said, I don't think the mini boss gains any health throughout the Easter egg, so same shit, different area of the map. But for this last time you fight him, he's gonna drop a heart. And this heart is your ticket to the boss fight. So once you take the heart, talk to Pam Grier, and head down to the sewers, you're gonna officially start the boss fight. And if you're looking for a redeeming quality of this map, you're not gonna find it here, because this boss fight is just as ass as the Easter egg. Okay, maybe that was a bit harsh. I don't think the boss fight is ass, but I don't think it's good. I guess it's just kind of mid. The boss fight can be broken up into 3 main steps: brain, heart, eye. Brain being the easiest and heart being the hardest, so we're going to start with the brain first. Whenever you play the game, you can do it in any order you like, but I'm just doing this for the sake of the video. And by the way, in order to start each step of the Easter egg, you need to grab that specific part and put it in the middle of the arena to start it. So, how do we beat the brain step? Well, it is very easy. All you gotta do, put the brain in the middle to start the step, and just run around for about 2 minutes. That's it. I believe how this step works is zombies spawn in with purple eyes, and they'll go to the middle of the arena to eat the brain, and the Rat King will try to stop them from eating the brain, but he can't stop them fast enough. So if you just run around the arena, they'll all slowly eat the brain. I've never done anything else to do this step. You can simply just run around. You don't have to kill the Rat King at all, so that's why this is by far the easiest. Next up is the eyeball. This step is also pretty easy and can honestly be interchangeable with the brain, but I decided to put it second just because. How this step works is exactly the same as the Easter egg. Whenever you use the eyeball, a bunch of symbols will spawn around the arena and you're just going to have to shoot them. I find this step easiest with the dual Pack-a-Punch Kindles, because you don't even have to shoot that symbol exactly or precisely. You can just shoot around it and it'll blow up. This step can usually be done in like 30 seconds, so it's pretty easy. Oh, by the way, I also forgot to mention that after each step, the Rat King will come down to the middle of the arena to try to kill you. It's just the same as what we did with the mini bosses in the Easter egg. You just have to kill it. I'm also pretty sure it's the same amount of health as the Easter egg. But now we're on to the last step of the boss fight, and by far the hardest, the heart step. Once you start the step, the entire edge of the arena will be covered in several puddles of acid. The whole goal of this step is to kill a zombie in each of those puddles of acid. But there's 2 factors that make this step pretty difficult. Number 1 is the puddles will damage you if you stand at them too long. And number 2, this entire step is on a timer. The time you have to do this step in solo, I believe, is around 45 seconds to a minute. But as you get more people in your game, the time decreases. So I'm sure with like 4 people, you have about 20 to 30 seconds to do it. And I think the timer is what makes this step so difficult, because if you don't do it, the arena will fill back up with acid. And I think it's also worthy to mention here that the only time you get max ammos is after each step when you kill the Rat King. So if you don't complete this the first time, or maybe even the second time, you're gonna run out of ammo, and there's no other way to get ammo, and you're just gonna fail the boss fight in Easter egg. But ladies and gentlemen, once you have done the heart, the brain, and the eye step, the Rat King will come down one more time, and once you kill it, you are officially done with the Easter egg and boss fight for Shaolin Shuffle. And now I believe it's time for us to get into the nitty gritty of this map. What it did good, what it did bad, and what I think it could do better. And real quick, I know this is coming really late into the video, but I think it's important to remind you guys that all of my criticisms and all the pros for the maps I'm talking about are specifically for the Easter eggs and boss fights. I enjoy Shaolin Shuffle. I don't enjoy the Easter egg and boss fight. So just remember to keep that in mind, and if that wasn't clear before, I apologize, but that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about pros, cons, what it could do better. It's all about the Easter egg and boss fights, not the map. So with that being said, what good do I have to say about the map? Well, not a goddamn thing.
That's a damn shame.
I honestly think that everything about this map's Easter egg is just cancerous. There's nothing good, there's no redeeming quality of this Easter egg. Every single one of the steps is annoying. You'll notice that every other map I've talked about, I've had something good to say about it. This map's Easter egg has nothing good. I have nothing good to say about it. I have nothing good to say about the boss fight. But like I said earlier, the map is good. I like the map, but the Easter egg and boss fight, I just cannot stand. So let's go into more detail why I think this Easter egg and boss fight failed. So let's get rid of the first glaringly obvious problem with this map. It is way too tedious, complex, and long. Take everything I said about Attack of the Radioactive Things Easter egg and multiply it by 10. That is what you get with this Easter egg. Remember when I was complaining about the math in Attack of the Radioactive Things Easter egg? Well, this Easter egg does numbers on that. This Easter egg, you have to learn an ancient alphabet that no one's ever seen before, and you have to learn Morse code. I will take the math step over this step any day of the week. And I briefly mentioned it earlier. If you were paying attention, you would have caught it. But you have to run around this map. If you take a look at my raw footage of the Easter egg, I probably did a full circle around this map 20 times. That is how much you have to run around the map. It's ridiculous. For the symbol steps, for the gold ring steps, for the rat step, you're constantly running around this map, and it is awful. It's the same complaint I had about Attack of the Radioactive Thing, where I said about 70% of it was probably just me running around. That's how I feel about this. You're running around this map so much, I wouldn't be surprised if I know every corner of this map. And also, let me mention the actual steps of this Easter egg. They make no sense. All of the steps seem so random and just pulled out of the game developer's ass. I don't know how anyone came up with the steps. I mean, one step, you have to just shoot, like, Asian symbols, Chinese, I don't know what kind of symbol it is. I don't speak that language. But you just have to shoot these random symbols in random orders. It doesn't make sense. I don't know how anyone came up with these steps. And stuff like the gold ring, it's repeated twice in the Easter egg. The first time is when you have to get the key, and the second is when you have to go to like 10 different ones. So that step's repeated. The only cool step that I guess somewhat makes sense is the disco ball step, where you have to go to the disco, and I probably have the most fun with that, even though it's annoying. I mean, all the steps in this Easter egg are annoying, but I probably have the most fun with that, and it's because it actually fits the map and makes sense. Any other step in this Easter egg makes no sense and doesn't even fit the map. I mean, just real quick, take a look at the symbol step, where you have to go around and shoot symbols around the map using the eye. What the hell? Who thought that was a good idea? That step, I said, takes on average probably 10 minutes. I wasn't exaggerating. It probably does. And the entire time you're just running around the map, clicking the left bumper on your controller to just hope that a symbol's there. I mean, that's the entire step. It's so annoying and so pointless. I don't know why it exists. I don't know why it's in the Easter egg, because it doesn't add anything. It just makes it longer and tedious. It makes no difference. If you just take it out, the Easter egg is automatically better. And I didn't mention it yet, but this Easter egg actually took longer to do than Attack of the Radioactive Thing. Despite the amount of parts in Attack and the math step, this Easter egg just has an insane amount of steps. I mean, it's probably like 20 steps, and they're all random and annoying, and they take a long time to do. So yeah, this Easter egg took way longer to do than Attack. Oh, and how could I forget the special enemy type on this map, the Kung Fu Zombies? If you thought the aliens were bad in Beast from Beyond, you should see these guys. Not only do they teleport around, knock you back, everything that the aliens do, they also do more damage than them. And they're also programmed a little bit differently from the aliens. The aliens will kind of just teleport around, not really in a certain pattern or manner, but the Kung Fu zombies will teleport basically wherever you're looking. So, especially in the boss fight where there's a lot of them, if you're running around, wherever you're looking, that's where they're going to be teleporting. So, they constantly disrupt your route that you're taking around the boss fight, and it makes the boss fight 10 times harder than it needs to be. And while getting the footage of this Easter egg and boss fight for the video, I ran into this glitch where sometimes they'll teleport like inside of me and send me flying up like 10 feet in the air. I don't know, it may not have been this run, so I might not have footage of it, but it's definitely happened to me before, and I'll throw it up on screen if I have footage of it. But I don't know if this is a recent thing because I've never had this problem, or if I'm just getting really unlucky, but they'll send you like 20 feet into the air and you'll land and you'll take damage from it. But this is the first time just recently that I've ever found this glitch. So that's just another thing to add on to this terrible enemy type. Also, let's talk about the boss fight briefly, just for a few seconds. The fact that you can run out of ammo in a boss fight is kind of ridiculous. I think Beast from Beyond did good, where it added an ammo crate, but it put it like out of the way, so whenever you go to it, you're putting yourself in danger, but you have unlimited ammo. And I think that was smart. I like the way they did that, because if you could run out of ammo in that boss fight, that would be awful. But this boss fight is just as easy to run out of ammo in. The amount of times you can fail like the acid step, if you don't get it, like I said, on the first or second time, you're probably going to run out of ammo. But I guess I do have a couple good things I can say about the boss fight. First off, Pam Grier can revive you. That's pretty cool because this boss fight is pretty difficult, so you're probably going to go down a decent amount of times. So she can revive you. And if you don't have Director's Cut or Perkaholic, then you can also pick up perks around the boss arena. There's little boxes of perks, and you can get back like 4 of your perks. So I guess that's redeeming qualities of this boss fight, but that's literally all I can think of that makes this Easter egg or boss fight better. And that just about sums up my rant about Shaolin Shuffle. Again, I think the map is good. I like the theme of the map and stuff, but the Easter egg and boss fight are not good, and I honestly wouldn't recommend it to any casual players. I would recommend it to like good players if you're into like just doing Easter eggs just to do them. Of course, I'll recommend it. But yeah, this Easter egg and boss fight overall are just not good. And that, ladies and gentlemen, leads me to the last segment of the video, where I'm going to give you guys my overall review of every single map we went through, and I'll also let you guys know what Easter eggs and boss fights I like the least and I like the most. So let's go ahead and get to the next segment. The first part of this last segment of the video is going to be my ranking of the maps from least favorite to most favorite. So it probably won't surprise you when coming in at my number 1 spot as least favorite Easter egg is Shaolin Shuffle. There's not much about this Easter egg that I can say that already hasn't been said before. Again, it's just a very complex and tedious map for no reason, and I stand by what I said. I do not recommend this to any casual players, but if you're just looking to do an Easter egg just to do an Easter egg, sure, why not, just do it, but I wouldn't recommend it to you. The second map up on this list is Raven the Redwoods. Funny enough, Raven the Redwoods is actually the polar opposite of Shaolin Shuffle. This Easter egg is way too easy. But the reason Raven the Redwoods is ahead of Shaolin Shuffle is because it's actually fun to do. I've definitely had a blast doing the Raven the Redwoods Easter egg. I cannot say the same for Shaolin Shuffle. Next up on this list, right in the middle, is Attack the Radioactive Thing. I like this Easter egg, I do, but the math step and all the parts, it really just drags it down. And it's also one of those Easter eggs you can't just do. You kind of have to be prepared coming into it. So I think the 3 spot is pretty fair. Coming in at the number 2 spot is Beast from Beyond. I said Beast from Beyond was my second favorite map earlier, and it's also my second favorite Easter egg. I like how in Beast that the Easter egg is very easy to do, so it's very easy to get to the boss fight, but it's not very easy to complete the boss fight and beat the map. Though the map and especially the boss fight can be really glitchy, I still found it pretty easy placing it at the number 2 spot on this list. And at number 1 on this list, to no one's surprise, is Zombies in Spaceland. This map has the perfect formula for an Easter egg and boss fight. The Easter egg has very simple steps, but they can sometimes be difficult to do. This is the perfect formula for an Easter egg because it doesn't make you look up every single step every single time you play, but it also just doesn't let you sit back and not use your brain for the entire playthrough. So, take it or leave it, that's my ranking of all 5 maps, but I'd love to hear if y'all disagree or agree in the comments. I got a couple more things to say before I let you guys go, but the first one is thank you. If you sat through this entire hour-plus long video, thank you. You do not know how much it means to me. It took a while to get this video together, so thank you so much for watching the entire thing. And the last thing, real quick, you probably noticed that Mephistopheles wasn't on this list if you're a hardcore Infinite Warfare Zombies player. That's because it's just a boss fight. I didn't consider an Easter egg, but I will have a video out on it. So if you want to watch that, if that interests you, come back in a few weeks and it'll be out on my channel. Now, with all that being said, I want to thank you guys one more time for watching the entire video. It really does mean a lot to me. I hope you guys have an amazing day, and I'll see you next time.